Welcome to the Vantage Point. I'm your host, Azandi Malenki of Righteous Juice, and you're tuned into your Conscious Podcast. Now, we are back. We are back each year. We take intermittent breaks, but we are excited to be back, especially during African Holocaust Month. International African Holocaust Month is very important for us here on the Vantage Point. So, it's some topics, for the remainder of this month that we must discuss. And today we are honored to have with us a guest that has joined us before, and his name is Reverend Dr. A.J. Varma. And so we want to thank you for being here with us another week. We never take for granted your presence. A lot of times I think we get so used to the presence of having Basesh or Reverend Dr. AJ Varma. He always wants to get the information out. So we may not forget. We may forget that it's an honor and it's a blessing for us to have him. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so African Holocaust Month, some things that we need to talk about. And we put out a title for today, and it's called What They Didn't Tell You. And I think most people who hear that title may think, oh, she must be talking about the white man. What are they hiding now? And that's not where we're going with this. Being a part of the conscious community from a young age, when I was joining different organizations or may have listened to different Black conscious teachers, it's all the same message. And it's the white man, he runs the TV, he runs this, he runs that. We don't want to hear anything he has to say. So, as a young person at that time, and obviously growing up, maturing to where I am now, um, there's a lot of things that I didn't learn because they this is not what we were taught is important, right? We just want to know what is pertaining to our Black history, but we don't want to know anything that the white man is saying. So my experience personally is to avoid the news, is to avoid, anything to do with Caucasian or Greco-Roman history. And so that I know from firsthand has stagnated a lot of people who came from that background. Today, we want to speak about what they didn't tell us, what we should know, and go to the conversation that way, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay. So, the news. This is one of the biggest things. There's a lot of events, important events going on in the world today, right? And you have the group that watches the news, and they don't know how to decipher it, right? That may be the older age from, I guess 55 and up, 60. I actually have a report here, and I want to read it. And what it says is that most cable news viewers are age 55 and older, and adults age 65 or above prove most likely to watch cable news every day, whereas younger consumers were less inclined to do so. Network news was also a popular news source among older audiences. So 41% of whom reported watching network news on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And it was a report that came out in 2019 that they're saying is still relevant today, which states that the digital news report looked at how young people get their news. One finding stark differences in news consumption and behaviors among younger people. So most people, and they say in age range 21 to about 40, don't watch the news as much, or they may get their news from social media sources. And when that happens, you kind of got to scroll and see what someone is saying, and then you get their version of what happened, and we don't truly get a sense of what's taking place in the world around us, right? So I just wanted to give a
That's
little
right.
bit of context to it so that it makes a little sense. So, what should we be watching the news? Why should we be watching the news, especially if we know that the messaging may not be true?
Well, it's good you said the things that you just explained to those that are watching at this time. First of all, it would be different if the people that weren't watching the news and took the position of, well, it's probably not true. It would be different if they just weren't watching anything. Then I would lean with them. I'd rock with that, right? I would say, okay, that's acceptable because you just said I'm not watching anything on TV. I'm
Mhm.
not watching the sports. I'm not watching the entertainment. I'm not watching the movies. I'm not watching the love and hip hop. I'm not watching 15 and pregnant. I'm not watching any of that. Then I would say, okay, this is a person who said, I know that the media has been used to manipulate the minds. It's the present day board of education. It's where most people are educated via. So I reject it. I would understand it, and that would have a different conversation. But unfortunately, most of the people that aren't watching the news are not watching the news and just deciding to read a book and become educated in that way. They're not watching the news, and then they're watching the misinformation of the false reality TV, the fake information, the Twitter
Mhm.
and the tweets and the Instagrams, and they're sharing things without vetting these things and not recognizing there's metrics that if I watch TD Jakes, then anything that TD Jakes or anyone saying something similar to TD Jakes is watching, it's going to pop up on my screen. If I'm reading stuff from BBC News, then BBC News and any Al Jazeera or Sky News or CNN will pop up on my screen. So let's first all be honest and say we're watching TV, we're watching television, we're watching the computer, right? Some people say, I don't watch TV. Yeah, but you watch your phone. Okay, tomato, tomato. You're watching some form of media or entertainment. So, with that in mind, if we're going to be watching, what are we watching for? Well, the society in which we live says that life often imitates art. And if life often imitates art, then we need to acknowledge in our minds or say to ourselves, then the life that I'm living, the life that my children are living and my granddaughter is living, in what way is this life imitating art? And if it's imitating art, which art? Progressive art, abstract art, destructive art? What type of art is my life imitating? And that's where this conversation, I would pray, we can go. Most of us, our lives are imitating. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when we saw Bad Girls Club and Love and not Love before was the other Flavor of Love and I
Mhm.
Love New York, and we looked at it like this is trash.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. There's no way people are going to believe that Flavor Flav is talking to these girls who look, some of them, like either they had fake bodies or they looked like a transvestite, or I don't know what was the girl's name? New York. I don't know
Yeah.
what her mother was. Her mother was it her father? Was it her
She
mother?
was a
Right?
yeah.
But no. Again, they were normalizing a certain look that the transvestites had been popularizing for so many years. And so many women today are wearing makeup that looks like what the transvestites were wearing in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So life, for some reason, unfortunately, we're beginning to imitate the fake TV, right? The what they call reality, but the false reality TV. We're beginning to emulate that. What seemed at that time to be entertainment, what seemed the 90 Day Fiance and all these type of shows, what seemed Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and what's the other one? There's so many, right? There was a
Yes, so
football
many.
one, there was the girlfriends, there was the
Yeah. Yeah.
boyfriends, there was
Mhm.
all that crap. Well, now it's actually come to pass where people are living the life of these shows,
Mhm.
right? And now, because of the internet, people are misusing the internet, and you got social influencers that have picked up where girlfriends or whatever the show is, people were watching at the time. That now it's becoming a reality. We used to say, "I don't know no black women who act like the women on Love and Hip Hop."
That's true.
Now we have to say, "I know black women." Or white women, or Asian women, or Malaysian women, or whatever, and black men who are acting the part. So life is imitating art. And so
Mhm.
when we know that, then we have to say we've got to be careful what type of art we allow into our minds. If we watch a show, we have to understand who's the producer, who's the executive producer, what their background is, right?
Mhm.
Because if we understand racism, white supremacy, we're going to understand it as a global system of oppression. Then we
Mhm.
need to understand its tools. The
Okay.
media is one of the tools of the devil.
Yes.
right? Television is one of the tools of the devil. A magazine, which for most people think is something you read when it's a clip you put into a gun, right? A magazine is one of the tools of the devil. Can we utilize those tools to promote and advocate righteousness and advocate and promote intelligence? Of course, but unfortunately, most people don't see the internet as a tool. We don't look at Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and such. We don't look at them as tools. We're not using them as a tool to either further our personal business or our spirituality or our liberation. We are instead of just using them to check out which girl and DM and all this other stuff that people are doing today. And as a result of it, we're at a disadvantage. So we need to go in our minds and decide, are we going to continue this path? Because if not, the generation that are 4 and 5 and 6 and 2 and 10 and 12, they're watching what they're watching now is reality TV, where you can go in and say you're a boy who wants to be a girl or a girl who wants to be a boy. You have the surgery. Within 10 years, we're going to have a whole generation of kids seeking to have these surgeries. Within 10 years, we're going to have a whole generation of kids that we won't know who's the boy from who's the girl. We're going to have a whole generation of kids. If we have Little Red, Nasty Red, something red, right? Her name's Nasty Red or some kind of red, right?
Yeah.
Right? And she's talking about her backside pink and her something something brown. Then that's what our daughters are going to be emulating. And we can all say, no, not my child. But if we're not knowing and keeping up with these producers and what is their agenda, they have an agenda. When I go to the country station, country CMT, country music television, or the country station for the white America, I don't see these types of shows. You'll understand. If you look at, let's look at the people, even in music, the people who came out at the same time as Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift came out at a certain time. Tell me all the rappers who came out at the same time. You don't know because they're not relevant. But Taylor Swift is still relevant, and they kept her with a certain image to ensure that their daughters don't end up like Nasty Red or whatever her name is. Right? They make sure of that. We have to do the same. We have to look at the news and say, what's going on in Palestine? What role does it play in mine and your life? Well, that's nothing to do with me. Well, actually, it does, because we're now engaging. America is now in England, are going to in France and the European Union, because a lot of people don't know that Israel is a partner within the European Union, which means anytime someone attacks Israel, the European Union and America have to come to their aid. Most people don't know this. So when we're looking there, we also know there's many melanated people. There's the blacks, what they call the Afro-Bedouin, who live in Rabat. Rabat is only about 60 kilometers outside of Gaza. So there's black people that are going to get blowback. But I'm not siding with the Palestinians or the Israelis. I'm siding with the Afro-Palestinians, the Afro-Bedouin, those people, many of which live in Gaza. And we need those I'm concerned with them.
Well, if I may, right, to your point that you're making now, because you're taking all my questions. To your point, if we are already not connected with the events and the killings, the mass killings that are taking place around us today, close to us in our own environments, other Nubian Melanite people that looks like us, then how can we become connected with any type of events or people in other countries? Because I think that's where the problem comes in.
Well, you just said it. The last piece that you just said was the answer. We see the melanated world as other countries. The key word is other. So when I look at the people down in Sao Paulo, down in Brazil, they're other. When I look at the people in El Salvador, San Salvador, the Afro-Cubano, Afro-Panamania, Afro-Mexicano, Afro-Bolivia, if I look at the melanated people, African people of these lands, I've been programmed to see them as other. Right? Same thing happens in America. If I'm a Crip, I see the blood as other. If I'm from New York, I'm East Coast, I see West Coast as other. If I'm in New Jersey, I see Philadelphia as others, even though there's a 15-minute bridge ride, if you will, right? So we've been programmed to see everyone as other, and our problem is we don't see the team. See, a professional team, take football, right? American football or football from Africa, right? What you call soccer. Take basketball, take baseball, right? In football, you have three teams on each team. You have special teams. Those are people who come out, they punt the ball, they kick the ball, kick field goals, onside kicks, and they're specialists in that. That's what they're paid to do. Then you have the offense. The offensive team has linemen, right guard, right tackle, centers, and tight ends, split ends, receivers, you call them, and then the backs, quarterbacks, halfbacks, fullbacks. Everyone has an assignment. But the offensive team, the teams that win, they don't just say it's about us. It's just about the offense. I don't mess with the defense. Even though at practice, defense practices separately. They'll come together at certain times to run schemes, but for the most part, the defensive linemen and the offensive linemen, they train together. Linebackers, running backs, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, and the backs, all the backs, they train together. Free safeties, split ends for the offense, they all train together. They all have a similar body dynamics, similar speed, similar understanding of the game. And all of these portions or pieces that make up the team is what makes a team successful. So melanated people, we got to understand, we're here in the West, those in England or in America or wherever we may be, we are in the Western or Caribbean. We have to begin to understand that these other people are a part of the team, an intricate part of the team. Right now in Africa, you have 50 countries of the 54 African nations that have come together and said that they're going to have free trade amongst all of those 50 countries. No import-export tax, because Africa is producing all of the resources and minerals that the planet is using that will guarantee Africa makes a come up. They needed 20 of them to sign to ratify. 10 have signed so far. So that's letting you and I know some changes are coming. Well, we in the Western societies, America, England, France, Portugal, Caribbean, we now got to figure a way to plug into that. But if we're not watching the news, we won't know. Now, I wouldn't just watch one news. Many people get caught on their news station. So the people who like Fox News, they only watch Fox. The people that like CNN, because CNN is giving them what they only watch. We have to watch Fox, CNN, BBC, NPR, Al Jazeera, Sky, and the Chinese news network, right? CNN or Chinese news network, CBNN, right? Chinese Broadcast News Network. And so you see what the Chinese are advocating from where they stand. And then when you put all of that together, now you can make a determination because you can filter what aligns with experience, evidence, and reason.
Now, are you familiar with, are any of these stations, are they ran by the same person? Because I don't know if some of them are grouped together. If we look at the history of how these stations began and what, who's behind the narrative of the message that's being broadcast. So if you are familiar with it, can you enlighten us as to?
Yes, you have Rupert Murdoch, right? He's out of the
Mhm.
UK, United Kingdom. He was the owner. He just stepped down a few weeks ago. His son's going to be taking over. And he's the owner of one of the big papers there, also running one of the news stations there. And so a lot of these people have that connection. And they're definitely pushing an agenda.
Mhm.
So again, how do we use what we watch and then translate that? You see, when news reporters, when they're taking news, they're translating what they see.
Mhm.
The station managers, executives are translating what they see to fit the narrative of that station.
Okay.
How do you counter that? You have to watch the news and translate it to fit the narrative of what we see.
Okay.
The problem
Mhm.
is we've yet to fully determine what our narrative is as a people. We
Yes.
want what I keep referring to, we want a leaderless revolution, right? We want a leaderless liberation. We want everybody, we all leaders. We all just going to push through the door at the same time and everybody's going to get through. And that's just not
Mhm.
realistic. We need to see what
Okay.
they do. We're playing chess. I don't get angry at the person across the board from me.
Mhm.
I don't get angry because he's making moves based off of his strategy.
Mhm.
As I'm studying chess, I have to study everything that they're doing on the other side of the board and understand
Mhm.
why. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, but if we're not in real positions of power, right? So where we're playing chess, but we don't have a full board of pieces on our side. We may be missing a rook
No,
or
actually,
missing a
you
bishop,
do.
missing some pawns, right? Or we may have it, but they may not know how to move. We may have the full board, but then our piece, they don't know how to move and they don't know the power that they do hold on that board. So if we don't have any real positions of power, how would that be relevant to us
Well,
today?
it's relevant the same way a football team or a basketball team or a chess. If I have all the pieces, but I
Hmm.
don't know how to move the pieces, I don't understand what the pieces do, I don't understand or understand the strategy of the pieces, then I go and get someone who does and have them teach me. Right? I can be the best quarterback ever, the best shooting guard ever, the best forward, center, the best goalie, midfielder, striker, whatever your sport, the best tennis player, all of the best people in sports and entertainment, in politics, in medicine, in science, they all have a teacher, a mentor, a guide, someone to help them along the way. Oprah Winfrey had a mentor. Read her books, listen to her interviews. She talks about him. She gives his name. Not hard to discover. Every person, Serena Williams didn't train herself. She wasn't out there with her and just Venus and they was hitting the ball by themselves. There was a guy named Mr. Richard Williams who was standing there, King Richard, and was saying, nope, like this. They had Mama Bear. She was a tennis player. No, like, and they learned. And then Coco Golf, who just won the tennis, she said she thanks the Williams families, the daughters and the father, because it made her father have an example to look up to. So her father studied the strategy of Mr. Richard Williams. She studied the strategy of Venus and Serena. Her mom studied their mother's strategy, and as a result, now she's successful. See, each one teach one. Our problem is we so smart that we keep showing how smart we're not. We're trying to learn to play chess with no. I don't want nobody to teach me. I'm not going to read no books on it. I'm not going to investigate anything about chess. Just put the board in front of me. I'll figure it out. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure out the chess moves, the chess pieces, what each piece does. And every time we make a move, somebody goes, "You can't do that." We go, "Why?" No, that's a knight. A knight has to move on an L shape. It can't move diagonal. But why not? I don't think it's fair. A knight should be able to move any way it wants. I said, okay. Meanwhile, the Arabs, the Chinese,
Hmm.
the East Indians, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Vietnamese, the Thailandese, the Bangladeshis, everybody else understands the game and have developed when you play chess, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, right? Everyone has different openings they tend to use, middle games, how they tend to develop, and of course, how they end the game, the closeout, if you will. Everyone has, the longer you play. Same with sports. Every sports team has an ethos. Same with universities. Everywhere you go, successful people have a beginning, middle, and end. They have how they begin, how they operate in the middle, and how they end. They have contingency plans. So part of what they're not telling us is that, and I mean they, as you said, when I'm talking about the white man, I'm talking about the so-called conscious teachers, the so-called black religious conscious teachers, the so-called black religious teachers. We're not having that discussion. We're saying white man, that's 100% true. White man, black man, green man, blue man, they're all doing it. That's true. But what's the solution? We're not looking at the Neely Fullers and saying, Baba Neely Fuller, let's execute what he gave us. BB Francis Cress Welsing, let's execute what she gave us. Right? If I'm a clinician, I'm a psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor, I'm going to study the Francis Cress Welsing School of Psychology. And I'm going to do everything I can until she becomes equivalent for us as Sigmund Freud and Schrodinger and certain others was for them, Bernays, etc. If I'm looking at organizing, I'm going to study the Marcus Garvey and the Amy Jacques Garvey School of Organizing. If I want to make a repatriation to Africa, I'm going to study the Garveyites, see the successes, see the mistakes, see the failures, learn from it, ask intelligent questions, take notes, and then implement. If I'm studying how to stay in America and become successful, I'm going to study the Baba, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to study the Bibi Clara Muhammad. I'm going to see exactly what they've done. And for that matter, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm going to see what they've done, and I'm going to execute. If I'm going, you follow. I've got to have people that I'm going not just read their stuff and repeat their stuff, but read their stuff and apply it. The great Baba John Henry Clark, he
Mhm.
made a statement. He said the study of history, which is news. News is history because news is reporting what has already happened. So
Mhm.
news is automatically history. It's a part of history.
Yeah.
Good history, bad history, truth of history, lie of history. A news is history that's already happened. You can't report news that is not taking place. You don't turn on CNN and say, tomorrow we think somebody's going to get shot. And we think that little boy going to go over here and beat that lady. And we think that this senator is going to get caught in the bathroom with a boy. And no,
Mhm.
they got to tell you this has happened. Breaking news.
Mhm. Mhm.
This just happened.
Yeah.
Just in. Wolf Blitzer. We have to operate the same way. We have to take, in the ancient African theology and cosmology, it says retrace the past. You look at history, as Baba John Henry Clark said, not just to find out how great you were, how important you were. That's
Mhm.
important because it gives you a sense of pride, but to see what mistakes were made in order to course correct. Additionally, a
Okay.
student learns what the teachers before us have taught, not just to praise them and feel good, but in order to do what? To see what the ethos was, know the direction, the directives we're supposed to be moving with,
Mhm.
execute it, and then build upon their works. This is what it was
Okay.
supposed to be.
Now, these great leaders that you're speaking of today, they studied racism, white supremacy. They studied the system of racism, white supremacy. So they were able to give us a way to combat it, give us an understanding or an overstanding of how they think and how it operates. So keeping it into the context of what we're speaking of before we move on, looking at the world powers to be, what you would say is maybe the G3 or the G10. Can you speak to us about the impact that they will have on our future lives as Nubian people?
Well, when we talk about economically speaking, you have the G10, the G7, the G13, right? The global 13, the global 10, and the global 7. There's others. The G7 are the strongest world militaries. These are people who possess nuclear capability, who have the power to drop a nuclear bomb and wipe life out. So they get to sit in the room together because you got the power. G10, top economic communities. These are the people controlling African Caribbean resources, directly and indirectly. So because of that, they affect us, right? Black people, I saw it over the last decade. Everybody, man, we got to get Bitcoin, we got to get cryptocurrency, we got to get all this currency online. Is people was walking up to us and showing myself and my brother their phone. Look, I got 300,000 Bitcoins. And if I cash it in, but I'm not going to cash it in yet because I got to hold it for 7 more months. And then when I cash it in, I'm going to be a zillionaire. And we watched everything fall. Same person, if I say, do you understand what a T bond is? Do you understand what a barra bond is? Do you know what they mean by a bull market? Do you know what it takes to get a product or a company to go public on the Nikkei or the Nasdaq or the Wall Street or the London? Do you know what that? No. So you don't. You want the instant oatmeal, right? I want something that I'm going to put $200 in, and in 6 months I'm going to be able to get $200,000 back. Sounds too good to be true because it is, right? Instead, are you learning? Oh, I'm going to show you this free program and you're going to learn how to make $300,000 a month by just being at home and selling stuff off of eBay. Same person, you say, look, let's put our money together, open up this little mini mart, get with the local farmers, sell fresh fruits and vegetables, get some food, some chicken, good, hormone free, free range, whatever. Get a little piece of land, an acre, grow some chickens, some turkeys, get some eggs. Oh man, see that? I ain't got time for all that. Oh, because it takes work, it takes strategy, but that's tangible. If I'm raising chickens, worst case scenario, I eat them. If I have 100 chickens and my idea fails, I can still eat the 100 chickens. But if I got 100,000 Bitcoins or crypto coins, or I don't know all the names, right? So you help me, right? But I got Red Robin and Robin Red, and all they got all these apps people have on our phones. Who I'm
Yes,
trading right now.
I
I
was
just
one of them,
right, and
so I
so
must
the
say.
same. All of us who's and we understand because we're all desperate, right? We're all trying to
Mhm.
make it. So someone says, if you trade these 2 coins, I'm gonna give you back 12 coins. I said, man, that's shoots and ladders, man. We know growing up, we used to play Connect Four. How many coins you got? You drop it, Connect Four, you hit the bottom, and that's Connect Four sets the child's mind up for gambling in Vegas. You pull the thing and the chips fall. That's why Connect Four was designed. Just do some research and people will find out
Mm,
someone has a strategy that they are executing, even down to the child's game.
mm,
The way Connect Four, look at the pieces, those are gambling chips. Those are the same chips if I look at blackjack, the same chips if I pull the slot machines. Someone's programming us from young. So we need a counter, as the Baba Neely Fuller said, a counter racist code, a code of ethics, a code of operation from everything: how we grow food, how we wear our hair, how we wear our clothes, who we sleep with, who we mate with, who we have children with, why we have children. Everything we do,
mm.
because the people that are dominating us,
Yes.
they have a strategy.
Mm.
That's why the
Okay.
Chinaman can come to your neighborhood and open up a Chinese restaurant. The Taiwanese
Mm,
man can come to your neighborhood and do nails. The Vietnamese man can come to your neighborhood and sell you hair. The Arab man or Pakistani man can come to your neighborhood and grab the gas station. The Asian East Indian man or woman can come to your neighborhood and get all the motels. And you've been living there, and these 5 families,
mhm,
all up under the the working with of the racism, white supremacy, because these
mhm,
5 families, they don't go to the white neighborhoods. The China man, the Arab man, the East Indian man, the Taiwanese, the Vietnamese, and all the other groups, they don't go to the white neighborhoods. So
That's
that this
true.
has to be a strategy. They know you're the only people that's going to support other people.
Mhm.
They know white people ain't going to support an East Indian motel.
Right.
They're going to support Paris Hilton, the Hilton Hotel, Hampton
Mhm,
Inn. They're going to
mm,
they're going to support those names because that's self. But they know you and I, we're consumers. We have trillions of dollars every year, two
mhm,
trillion plus dollars. Black people are bringing in the UK about another trillion. So we would be the third largest or seventh largest economy on the planet if melanated people just in America decided to pool our resources. But if we're not
mm,
watching the news, with an eye from a conscious mind, a mind that says black people first. What is it they're showing me?
mhm,
What is it they want me to become, imitating art?
mhm,
And what is it they don't want me to see? If I'm watching the news and you're telling me Israel, 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 Gaza, 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 I go,
mhm,
that's interesting. What's going on over here in Burkina Faso? What's going on over here in Sierra Leone? What's
mm,
going on over here in Mozambique? What's
mm,
going on over here in Brazil? Why? Because wherever you're telling me to look is to get my attention over there,
mhm.
because you
Yeah.
said the hand is quicker than the eye. So if your hand points there, I'm going to look and then quickly move away from what you're telling me. And if we do that, we'll
Mm.
catch what's really happening.
Okay. Yes. All right. Last question before we go on a quick commercial break. You mentioned the Bitcoins and you went into it a little, but how would our economic growth affect our involvement in Black liberation at this time as if our minds have not been reformed enough to, I guess, intellectually use to develop our financial literacy?
Well, no, it's not that deep, right?
It's
Our
not.
minds don't. Minds have to be reformed and
We
intellect.
have to. I
I
mean,
mean, I love it.
if
Don't get me
if,
wrong.
if you don't have, you may have the capital, but if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to
No, but
appropriate
see,
it,
that's the
how?
crazy part.
Mhm,
Black mothers have been
mhm,
regulating households, running the households on a deficit like the American system and English system. These countries function on a deficit. They owe money, they pay a little bit, they take out a credit. So black mothers have been doing this since slavery, putting up a little bit. The difference is we don't trust ourselves as much as we trust everybody else. How did we come out of slavery? 1865 in America. And by 1885, 20 years later, we were governors and senators and this and that. Because we came out with a mindset of it's not about what I don't know, it's about what do I know. We all know that we need money. Got it. Check. We all know that working for him don't give us enough money. Check. So if I need money and working for you don't give me enough money, then I got to go ahead and start working for me. Because if I'm already not getting enough from you, at least if I'm working for me, I'll know when mine is coming in.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're not invalid. We're not little, we're not paraplegics. We're not, no, no disrespect to the handicap, right? But we're not
Yes.
paraplegic.
Yes.
We were born with a brain. It's in there. We may not use it all the time, but what do we know? I can watch a drug dealer in the hood. He didn't go to Harvard,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Bumpy Johnson and those guys in the 60s, they didn't go to Harvard. They didn't go to Yale. Frank, all these big names. Al Capone wasn't a PhD, Dr. Al Capone, Dr. Frank Nitti. These were gangsters, but they understood math.
Mm-hmm.
They understood one plus one product,
Mm-hmm.
need for product,
Mm-hmm.
sell product, fulfill need, make money, invest money in legitimate, and become. Anheuser-Busch was bootleggers. Anheuser-Busch is now Busch Gardens in Florida. And
Mm-hmm.
they make Miller beer and all the other beers. So this thing that we got to, what is it we need to know to be, no, we need to look to our leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Muhammad, he wasn't Dr. Elijah Muhammad, PhD, but he understood math. He understood need. He understood food, clothing, shelter. Three basic human needs. If you tie a product into food, clothing, and shelter, that product is successful. The internet, the computer we're on right now, laptops,
Mm-hmm.
desktops, whatever everybody's using, tablets,
Mm-hmm.
this is tied to your food, clothing, and shelter. Tells you what kind of clothes you want to wear.
Mm-hmm.
You can order stuff on Amazon. You can order stuff on whatever the new other sites they got out. You can find out what the latest commercials are. So this thing has been tied into your food, clothing, and shelter.
Yes, it has.
Base needs. Base needs. That's not I didn't go to Harvard for that. That's common sense. You eat every day.
Okay.
Okay, go
Well,
ahead.
can you give us more? I want more details because, we can't tell a person in the hood who is selling the drugs to put the drugs down to then do what, right? And I know that's not what you're saying,
Right.
but I'm asking, what would you advise Black people
Well,
to
I'll tell you what
do
I've
to
told the
gain
drug dealers.
capital in such a way as to not empower the other races
Well,
in
very
the
simple.
process?
I wrote this years ago. We wrote a book called "Is the Nubian Male an Endangered Species?" And I said to the drug dealers,
Mm-hmm.
"We need you to do. I'm not because me telling you stop selling, you ain't gonna stop, right?" The Catholic Church didn't tell the mafia stop selling drugs. Catholic Church said, when you come to service on Sunday, put some of that money in the collection plate so we can use it to develop the neighborhood. John Gotti developed the neighborhood for his people. His people saw him and still deem him as one of their heroes. So if you're going to do what you do, don't do like them. They didn't sell to Italians. They sold to you. You got to figure a way, if that's what you're going to do, sell to somebody else outside of us. And then take that money and invest it in us in self. This is again not top secret. What did the Irish do? Was Frank Nitti Italian? No, Frank Nitti was not Frank Nitti. The other one, yeah, Frank Nitti. He was Italian. No, Irish. You had the Irish mafia. You had the Italian mafia. You had the Chinese mafia. You had the Japanese mafia. All of these mafias took care of their people. You understand? America was built by gangsters. Ford was a gangster. Gerald Ford. Henry Ford. He was a gangster. Carnegie was a gangster. They got it on TV on the Learning Channel. The men who built America, they were gangsters. So I'm not telling people if that's your only thing that you know to do to survive, take some of it, buy some neighborhoods, get with legitimate organizations and say, this is what I want to donate, invest with. Y'all gonna have that, but at least our neighborhoods will look right. That's what they did. But instead, life imitates art. I get this money so I can get the new Mercedes, BMW, and the new rims. I got a $30,000, $40,000 rims, and I'm just driving around with somebody driving me, and I'm running to call, hey, baby girl, and that's it. That's as far as we're going. When they put our gang movies out, right? Hollywood, the same European, when he puts movies out about our gangsters, they're not very bright. But when he put out The Godfather, Michael Corleone, and Godfather Corleone, Kiss My Ring, they have order. We are always pants hanging. So change the game if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to be into religion, I advocate spirituality and religious development and using Rel Sol Wep, the religion, economics, labor, sex, gender, education, law, war, security, entertainment, and politics, circa Baba Neely Fuller and B.B. Francis Cress Welsing. So I'm advocating from that. That's what we do. So in that, what we do and advocate, we say, here's our plan. You follow? And we look at the great Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, and we follow their Baba Tumrays, and we follow what they do. But if you're saying that you're going to do illegal, then at least study the best minds of the illegality. What did they do to move from illegal to becoming legit, and follow that path? You don't got to go to Harvard to learn that. You don't got to go to Princeton to learn that. But you have to have some form of discipline. If a young boy can stand out there on the street corners of New York and Philly and DC and New Jersey and Chicago and in London at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning in cold weather, hot weather, mosquito, no mosquito, just to make $100 or 100 pounds, that same person take that discipline and start reading some books. Go to a library. Hell, I don't know how to read. Go online. How did they do it? And watch it. That's not hard. Anyone can do that. And if you still don't know after that, then come on, see me, call me, join me. I'll help you. I'll show you how to do it. You follow what I'm saying? I'll sit and have a conversation with you on a real level. I want to be, now, I ain't going to be there when you cutting the cocaine. I got nothing to do with it. Right? You're not calling me in for that. Right? But I'm going to advise you as your religious advisor and give you some insight. That's just real talk.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And the musicians can do the same. James Brown used to contribute to the Nation of Islam. He said, Mr. Muhammad, I love everything you teach, but I got two problems. I love pork and I love me some white women. So I can't join because those are the two things I can't have in the Nation of Islam. But I can contribute to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's right.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
We have no choice. The world is not waiting for you and me. Us laying on the ground and saying, it's not fair. It's not fair. You're right. They're killing us, 100%. They're drugging us. That's true. Question is, we came out of slavery. We came out of slavery. We came out of literal whips and castration, and we took over. So imagine now where you're supposed to be free if you and I decided to not be in a position where we don't know or we're so caught up on what they haven't told us, but actually did a little bit of homework. A little bit of investigation. Lend your ear to Minister Farrakhan. See what he has to say. Lend your ear to the late Runoko Rashidi. Lend your ear to Dr. Kaba. Lend your ear to, you know what I'm saying, to Basesh Hotep Tar. Lend your ear. Just give me a minute. Let me just talk to me for a minute. And I might say something you can use. And if it works, come back and see me and say, that thing you said it worked. Let's see what we can do with that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
If not, we don't stand a chance.
That's true. Now, Reverend Dr. A.J. Varma does not stand for Reverend. It stands for Revealer, and that is what he's doing today. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Comment. Let us know how you're enjoying this episode. If you have any questions, maybe we can bring it back on for a part 2 because I know we're running on time. So we'll take a quick commercial break, ask a couple more questions, then we'll let you go for the evening. Thank you all for tuning in. This is The Vantage Point, and we'll be right back. I'm an African strong Nelson.
For centuries, Black people have contributed inventions, science, theories, music, life lessons, art, and more into American culture. And for far too long, Black history has been overlooked, minimized, or, even worse, erased.
Why do we see a pattern of discrimination, suppression, and prejudice against Black Africans? And even that pattern lingers to this day. That's where the wicked journey against Black Africans started. Today, even if everyone stays silent, history speaks too loud to be avoided. But the real focus should be this question: why do non-Blacks see Black Africans as a threat?
In America today, if you are Black, you are 5 times more likely to go to prison than if you're white. And the average Black family is 8 times poorer than the average white family.
Welcome back to the Vantage Point. Again, my name is Azandi Malinki of Righteous Jewels, and this is your Conscious Podcast. We're back again with Reverend Dr. AJ Varma, also known as Basesh Hotep Tar, and we are very grateful for this day and this conversation that we're having in this time of African Holocaust Month. One of the things that we mentioned before the commercial break in brief was history, knowing our history, right? That's a big part of this conversation. And so, what are some of the historical events that we don't know, we haven't been told about, that we may need to be reminded of, or our attention needs to be focused on, that would save us from the conditions that we are in today?
I would say one of the most important historical events that we don't know is our place in world history. You know, many people still today believe that our only place was that of colonized, infiltrated, subjugated, enslaved, miseducated, misinformed, bastardized. That's it. That's what we know, right, of our story. When in fact, we are the recorders of history. When we speak medically, if I were to talk to someone living in China concerning medicine, they would not or do not apply medical treatments in the manner in which the European system of medicine is governed. Someone living in India, they do not apply or practice medicine in India to the exact same letter in the manner by which the American or European system of medicine is done. They have their own system by which they utilize their chakra doctrine and Reiki doctrine, etc., and include it within the holistic way for their people. We had a system medically, for example, the system of Imhotep, the healing herbs of Imhotep. The Ebers Papyrus, they call it today. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, they call it today. The Kahun Papyrus, they call it today, and many others, that the great master, the real true father of medicine, would have given us. Now, why would we want to know that? Well, a few reasons. Number one, if I have a child, this is an inspiration, right? You can't become what you can't see. I say this all the time to people. You and I, no one can become what they cannot see. If you can't see it, if you can't envision it, if you haven't seen it and can't envision it to see how it would look, you cannot become that thing. You need an example. You need something to look to that's going to inspire and guide your vision in order to make that mark and then go beyond. So knowing who we are as far as medicine is concerned, that's important. Once you know that, then you can inspire generations of doctors and nurses and anesthetists and phlebotomists and people in that field. The same thing musically. Knowing who we are musically. Our music didn't just begin here. Our music goes back to the continent of South America, North America, Indus River Valley, so-called Arabian Peninsula, as well as the African continent. What are the sistrum? What is the kora? What is the satard? What are these instruments? What is the djembe? What is the conga? What is the talking drum? What roles did they play in communication? What roles did they play in healing? What roles did they play? Once we understand that, our approach to music will change. Why did the Victorian era reverse music from what you're calling the bass note being on top to the bass note now being on the bottom? When C minor to the right was C minor to the left was on top and C minor to the right. So the keys were this way. If I'm playing a keyboard, everything this way used to be here. So when you play a sitar or you play the xylophone, as they call it, the African bolophone, right? We called it. When we played it, the bolophone has her keys over here that are now here. And so this sounds crazy, right? But if you take a bolophone, which they would then try to change and call a xylophone, which is the original piano, right? It plays the same notes of the piano, but it's this way. So you're training a child everything here, and that's why it takes you a little longer at times, because they have given you Victorian. So all of your keys from center key this way should be flipped over and then flipped this way, and that would work with the hardwiring of the black mind, because that's the way genetically you played. But instead, they've done it the other way. right? And try to train you. You're reading in the wrong direction. You're playing the keys here and then
Mhm.
here when you played everything this way,
Okay.
right? On the keys.
Mm.
Musically, having that knowledge would change how we teach children, would change how the children approach music, and would work with the electrical current of a young developing Black mind.
Okay.
That's musically. So we look at it music, culinary, food, understanding the African papyruses. We had papyruses that are in the British Museum and the Leipzig Museum in Germany, the Louvre in France. We have records that they have there in Timbuktu, right? The Timbuktu Malian records had recipes on cooking that were tasty, delicious, but also healthy. Imagine if we could take the Malian papyruses and look at the recipes for life. I call them the ancient African Tamarian recipes for life because we did a little book. We haven't put it out yet, but and take those recipes and begin to cook using the ancient Malian papyrus records on culinary instead of Rachel Ray's 15-minute you can't cook meals. Imagine what that would do for our culinary experience, for our vitamins and minerals and nutrients and intake. It would change. We grab the Atkins diet and the low carb diet and the meat only protein diet. We grab all these diets, but if I say grab the Malian papyrus Timbuktu diet, that's African. They're probably gonna have us eating monkey, or our ignorance shows. This is real. That's how it works, right? They're gonna have us eating some kind of monkey blood. I ain't gonna be eating no African food, and we think we're saying something funny or something slick when we're actually insulting our own origins and our own intelligence. We don't say that about Rachel Ray. You don't say that. We don't say that raw, uncooked. Who cooks a meal for their family in 15 minutes? It takes 15 minutes just to guise it, just to put the chicken in the water with the lemon and the vinegar
That's
and,
the truth.
and the salt, the kosher salt, just
Yes.
to kosher the chicken and the turkey and the shrimp and the fish and the foods that
Takes
we eat,
long
the
enough.
vegetables.
Yeah.
It takes longer than 15 minutes. This white girl done made a whole meal in 15 minutes, and I believe if I cook that, I am a good husband and a good wife and a good parent. That's crazy. So again, having that knowledge would give us an advantage. We've got to change everything that they've taught us. Learn it, know what they're teaching, know why they teach it. Bible Neely Fuller. If you don't understand racism, white supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
what it is and how it works. So we need to know what it is. We need to know how it works. We need to know why McGraw-Hill writes the textbooks the way they do. We need to know why Random House Publishing. Right, we need educators, people who are interested in education, to take the textbooks from McGraw-Hill, from Random House Publishing, dissect them, understand the ethos of what they're trying to do to promote their supremacy, take it, invert, reverse, flip it around, and then do our own, and we'll have the same effect for us that it has for them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
These are things that are doable. Again, you don't got to go to Harvard.
That's true.
I didn't know, Tap Time, the show,
Yes.
my
girl.
son and my little granddaughter, they watched Tap Time. I didn't know she was Tap Time PhD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's not Tap Time PhD, but she's a brilliant woman who took the time to read
Yes, she did.
and decided, I'm going to try and do something.
And when they tried to make her move into their network, and she was like, "No." They said,
No.
"You got to change your afro." She said, "Well,
Say, no, I'm
you
not
won't be
going. I'm
doing
not
that.
letting you compromise me. I'm keeping this afro. You want me to put a
Not
perm? Nah, I'm
compromising who
good.
I
Keep your
am."
money.
Yeah.
Right? The other family that does the little cartoon black girls, they only dance with their hands like this. Right?
He's talking about
What's her name? Right? The same
girl,
thing
yes.
with that show. I can't remember the name, but all of these shows. So these are people, the man and his family who started that. They're not PhD. They're not Harvard grads, but they're black people that said necessity is the mother of all invention. When do we as a people decide that it is now necessary, more than ever, to take stock, and get an overstanding and understanding of our condition and do something about it? The house is on fire and we yelling, my God, there's a fire. Somebody save us. There's a fire in the sink. Whoa, somebody please come on and save us. That's what we sound like. Hey, there's a fire. Okay, what kind of fire is it? It's a grease fire. Do not throw the water in the grease fire. Go outside, get me a shovel full of dirt and bring it inside. Take the shovel full of dirt, throw it at the base of the fire. Fire goes out.
Yes. Yes.
But we're acting like someone else, the person who set the fire, The man set the fire in your house.
Mm-hmm.
He's a serial killer. He's a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, please, Mr. Serial Killer, I know you don't really mean what you're doing. I know it's probably me, it's my fault. I shouldn't have been outside. I should have watched the stove. I know you're a pyromaniac. I know you go around setting fires because you just like to see stuff burn. But I know it ain't your fault. It's probably something I did. I shouldn't have left the stuff on. No, this is a pyromaniac. He loves to set fires, and you're running to him and you're asking him the fire that you started when you started invading Africa and the Caribbean and North and South America and the Indus River Valley and the Asian Pacific. The fires that you started as the Aryans on down through the Europeans, those fires that you started, can you do us a favor? Can you put them out, please? The miseducation that you've been promoting, can you do us a favor? Can you start teaching us the truth, please? The bad McDonald's, McCrap, and Burger Crap, and Sub Crap, and all the other crap, the poison foods that you've been giving us, hey, do me a favor. Can you stop feeding my child McDonald's? Hell, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, I always call her the First Lady because she's the only First Lady I'm ever going to acknowledge, right, in America. The First Lady, Michelle Obama, she had a whole program about giving children better foods in the school. Get healthy. She was on the Get Healthy thing. She was on there working out, showing kids how to work out and parents how to cook and eat better. And she was fighting against food deserts in black neighborhoods. Come on. She was growing food at the White House. First Lady Michelle Obama said, grow food. When they came in 2008, she said, we're not buying no food.
Okay,
she realized that a lot of people don't know when you're the president, you have a budget. So when you have a state dinner, you pay for that state dinner, the couple. So she said, wait a minute, we got to feed our own staff. They said, yeah, that's the rule. Well, if we feed our staff, I'm going to grow food in the White House garden.
Yes,
so she started growing food, and that food and vegetables that they were growing outside was feeding the people who lived in the White House and worked there. Necessity is the mother of all invention. No first lady before her, from Betsy Ross and George Washington and the sewing the flag, they didn't grow a damn thing. But she was the first one, and no one talks about that. She was in all the gardening magazines. Go back and look at magazines from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and you'll see Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, the First Lady Michelle Obama, telling people, grow food. When she was on her way out, when everything was over and they had finished their term, she said, all of y'all was looking at us when we said, hope you can believe in. Now you're going to see what it feels like to be hopeless. She was warning us. So you and I got to decide. We got to start growing food. We got to get back to the basics. Stop being afraid to get dirt under your nails. A little bit of soap and water, it'll get out. Get a little brush and brush under your nails. You'll clean them. We got to stop being afraid. Ooh, it's a mosquito. Kill it. Keep working. Ooh, it's a butterfly. Okay, it's a butterfly. Ooh, it's a wasp. Run, right? But we got to stop just running from nature because nature will save us. Teach children to become agriculturalists, to become gardeners, to become botanists, to learn what it means to be outside in the woods, in the plains, in the field, because nature can sustain you and I. Everything going on inside doesn't sustain. You follow? It won't sustain you. I can't eat this computer. I can't eat these buds. I can't eat them. I can't eat the mouse. Can't eat the cell phone. Right? I can use the cell phone and Uber Eats. But that's not. But Uber Eats is only gonna bring me poison. Uber Eats they don't bring you stuff that tastes good. Uber Eats McCrap. It's gonna kill you. Go outside. Get back to nature.
Okay. Now I want to get this across before we go, right? Because we're live on YouTube. There's many people who've never heard of African Holocaust Month, right?
Yes.
And we'll also be going back live on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes. So please watch out for that. If you're in your car and you can't watch YouTube, you can tune in and just listen to the audio. And people that's on the audio, come over to YouTube Live and watch us. But please explain why African Holocaust Month, for those who don't know what it is, because a lot of people are familiar with the term Holocaust as it pertains to the Jews, right? So what is the African Holocaust Month? Is there any parallels with the Jewish Holocaust? Please give us more details on why this title is so important.
Well, first and foremost, Hitler killed more blacks than he did kill Jews. The Germans massacred millions of black people living in Namibia. Millions of Ethiopians, millions of people during the same time that the Jews were being sent to the gas chambers. Some, in the case of the people of Namibia, before they ever sent the Jews to the gas chambers, he was wiping out Africans on the continent. King Leopold of Brussels, of Belgium, 16 million black people massacred and lost. So when we speak of a Holocaust, yes, Hitler, if we're talking Hitler and the great Jewish people of today, right? I call them the great, so that way you can't say anti-Semitic, right? So the great Jewish people of today, well, what he was doing to them, he was doing to us at the same time. So if theirs is a Holocaust, then our Ma'afa is a Holocaust also. They put us in gas chambers also. Do some research. Blacks who were sent to the gas chambers. Do some research. When black American soldiers were captured, the Germans caught the white soldiers and didn't treat them with the disdain and the medical research and medical experiments, I should say, that they did on black soldiers. This is stuff we can read about. So when we talk Holocaust, yes, we are tied into the same Jewish Holocaust. In fact, Hitler was trying to wipe us out via Mussolini in Italy, because Mussolini and them were trying to find Hitler the Ark of the Covenant. And they felt that the Ark of the Covenant was being kept by the Ethiopians of the Falasha. So Mussolini was on a quest and an agenda to find the Ark of the Covenant and wipe out the Falasha, wipe out the Lemba, wipe out. This was happening in Africa at the same time that the Jewish people were being sent to the gas chamber. Because Hitler recognized in his writings, since they always talk Hitler, Hitler said the blacks of America are more the Jews or the Hebrews of the Bible than the so-called Europeans. So since they're talking Holocaust, we say we are Ishmael. We say we are Israel. We say we are Midiani. So that's also our Holocaust. Our Holocaust started with the East Indians, the melanin recessive ones called Aryans, the Iranians, melanin recessive ones called Aryans, the Japanese had a Japanese slave trade of African people, the Chinese had a Chinese slave trade of African people, the Koreans had a Korean slave trade of African people. Everybody was selling African bodies. So this is a Holocaust that has been going, and it continues to happen today. So we are tied into the Jewish Holocaust. I call them my Jewish brother. I know what I'm saying. I don't mean it like my brother, like we hanging out. I mean your struggle that you want the world to keep feeling sorry for. And we were a part of that. We were in the gas chambers too. We were at Auschwitz too. We were at Leipzig too. We were in the Blitz of England when they were bombing England. Black people were there dying too. So if you're going to benefit through reparations for your Holocaust, and we were a part of that Holocaust, and he was killing us for the same reason he was killing you, then it is also our Holocaust.
Come on, yes.
And that's the way black people got to start understanding again, but that's only if you watch the news and you read and you do some research and you stay aware of what's happening. If you don't, you won't know. You won't know that there were black Germans that were having experiments ran on them by Hitler's people before World War II. This was happening in the 1910s, the World War I. They were massacring blacks. Do the research. I'm talking to the people listening in. And if we do that, so yes, African Holocaust Month is speaking about all of that. And I said just like that, all of that.
Okay, well,
that's been happening.
If that's been happening, right? And we're coming to a close, but I just got to get this. If this has been happening and this has been our Holocaust, why is the revolution necessary now? Speak to the 21s to 35s to 40-year-olds. Why is it necessary right now? Why do we need to stand up and fight and do something different than we've been doing?
Well, the revolution is here. Gil Scott-Heron, who's from back in the 60s, said the revolution will not be televised. Because revolution is not just burning a building and holding up a fist. It's not holding up a sign. That's televised. The marching is televised. You follow? The protest is televised because they know that's not revolution. Revolution is when you change, you evolve the way you think.
Mm.
Revolution is growing your own food. That's revolutionary.
Mm.
Revolutionary is owning your own land. That's revolutionary. Revolution is educating and creating your own charter schools and educating your own children. That's revolutionary. Revolution is worshiping that which looks like you and getting away from worshiping anyone or listening to anyone for spiritual guidance that doesn't look like you. That's revolutionary. Revolution is making your own clothes. That's revolutionary. Revolution is making your own automobiles that you see people all throughout the continent doing today. That's revolutionary. Revolution is loving on a black woman or black man that looks like you, moves like you, thinks like you, loves like you, cries like you, fights with you, alongside of you. That's revolutionary. Revolution is making our own jewelry. That's revolutionary. Revolution is having our own symbols of superiority. Our own. I don't need the Jewish star to say I'm a Hebrew. I need the African eight-pointed star, Ankh and crescent to say who I am. That's revolutionary. Revolution is speaking languages that he dare not even attempt to speak, and we call those language our sacred language. That's revolutionary. Revolution is not going to be televised, because if they televise it, they know life imitates art. So they keep showing you all the protests because they want you to keep protesting, because they know don't nothing come from that. But they don't want you to say what Garvey said: separate, do for self. What Elijah Muhammad said: separate, do for self. What Marimba Annie said: that true war is not boom, 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 bombs. True war is economic. True war is diet. They're waging war on us. We're walking around suffering with obesity, diabetes, bursitis, rheumatoid arthritis. We got all these illnesses because they're poisoning us. So the real revolution, no, it won't be televised. It is the taking control of the things that we need: food, clothing, shelter. All things to deal with people activity. Baba Tumre, my teacher, used to teach us: do for self and kind, for, of, and by each other. Elijah Muhammad said: love of self and kind, do for self. Marcus Garvey said: one God, one aim, one destiny. And we, the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, we say one soul in different bodies. Doing for, of, and by each other with the love of self and kind to become one God, one aim, one destiny. We're taking all that. That's revolutionary. And I pray that people understand what I'm saying. That's the best we can do.
And that is the message that we're broadcasting here on the Vantage Point. I hope you heard what was said, because you can't call yourself a boss. You can't call yourself any of these things. We like to big ourselves up, but if you can't produce for yourself, grow your own foods, have your own shelter, clothing, we can't sew anything. It's 2023 going into 2024, and we have women that can't put a button on a shirt, and this is why this message is necessary today. So I don't know about you, but this is how you come back from break. We've been going, but this is how you come back. So thank you, Reverend Dr. AJ Varma, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
thank you for having me.
This message across. We are so grateful for you. Before we go, give everyone your information. Where can you be found? How do they listen to your message? How can they join your church? Please, we're going to put it on the screen, put it in the comments, and we will get you out of here, because I know you have a busy schedule.
Well, we tell everybody, please go to, on Facebook, the International Holy Coptic, QUBTIC Church, or AJ Varma, VARMAH, on Facebook. You can find us also on YouTube, Coptic, QUBTIC TV. You can also find us on Instagram, AJ Varma. There's many ways you can reach us, and you can send a text if you want to know more. I think their number, the office number, is 646-479-9465, and you can send a text, saying interest in service, or literally just put the note. They'll answer it. You don't got to call it. There's too many calls coming in, so they won't answer it in that way. But if you put a text, they will respond to that text. Again, at 646-479-9465. They will respond. Again, I'm grateful to the Vantage Point. I'm grateful to you, Sister Zandi Maliki, for having me on this show. And I just want to tell everybody who's listening out there, we can change our destiny, but it starts right now. These are the things they won't tell us. So it's time we tell ourselves.
Yes, thank you again. Thank you for everyone who has joined us today. Please look out for us on not only YouTube, but Spotify, our iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, what's the other one called? iTunes, because you will be able to listen to our episodes there. Share with your friends and family. You can't be a part of this moment of now. You can't be a part of this revolution if you're not doing your part. And your part is to fight each and every day for us, is to spread this message, is to help doing your part in this liberation that we are all fighting for today. Please, please, please. And we thank you again for tuning in. We will see you next week. This has been The Vantage Point. Until next time.